Hello and welcome, you worthless motherfuckers. Welcome back to another episode of On My Last Brain Cell, hosted by me, your boy Disgrace. It has been a little bit of time since I did my last episode. I think it's been like 2 or 3 weeks. It has been a couple weeks since I did my last episode, maybe like 2 or 3. I am officially out of training. I've been out of training for about 2 weeks now. And I've just been very preoccupied with work, with doing that, because I am full-time when I'm training, but then after that I was on call and I was just enjoying my time being on call. Now I have to start picking up shifts because I had to pay more bills today, and I was like, well, we gotta go to work. you know. So I am up at a ungodly hour for me. It is 9 a.m. I'm usually not up at this time, but my sleep schedule has been so fucked up that I was like, I'm gonna just come over here and do an episode. Then I had plans later on today too, so I was like, might as well just go and get my car. One thing I do want to say before we start today's episode is if you can hear my AC more than like in the other videos, I am so sorry, but I do live in Vegas and it is fucking hot today. It was rainy and muggy and humid yesterday, but I walked out today and I was like, oh my god, we are living in Satan's asshole. We are living deep in his sphincter right now. So sorry if you can hear my AC, but if I don't put it on, I'm gonna fucking die. And does that stop me from wearing a beanie? No. And what about it? Don't tell me anything, okay? In today's episode, I wanted to talk about books. Okay, I wanted to talk about the books that I've been reading, and I have a shit ton, dude. Well, for me, I have 5. No, 4. The fuck? I have 4. I was always kind of a reader growing up. My parents always kind of hated it because if they saw me reading anything but the Bible, it was always a problem. So I kind of let go of reading because I am no longer in the religion. I haven't been into it. With me becoming sober now and me having to like how I talked about in the other episode about my sobriety, me having to learn how to relearn about life and how to navigate life sober and relearn things about myself that I'm sober now, because alcohol was my entire personality, and partying and getting fucked up and blacking out and hooking up and doing all this shit. And now that I am sober, I don't do any of that anymore, which I will make a separate episode about, because they kind of go like hand in hand with because I talked about it in the dating wrapped episode where I said I didn't want to date this year. So I wanted to make an episode about really going into why I don't want to date, and then it also kind of ties into, you know, like therapy and sobriety and all of that. But I wanted to get back into books. When I would read, I've read like the typical shit. Like I read all the Twilight books. There was an author that I really loved. Her name is Ellen Hopkins. They're all named after one word, so it's like Traffic, Tricks, Burned, Crank. Burned was my favorite. I read that book 3 times, and then in school I did a book report on it. I tried reading those again this year. I think I was trying to read, because I read Traffic and then I tried to read Tricks and I couldn't get into it. And then I was trying to reread Dante's Inferno, because for those of you guys that know me, like truly know me, you guys know that I am a fucking nerd when it comes to Dante's Inferno. I don't know what it is about it, if it's like my religious trauma or just the way it enticed me when I was learning about it in high school, that I wanted to reread it, and I bought like the book that I wanted. It was the same thing with that one, that I tried reading that book as well, and I just could not get into it, dude. I was stuck on like Canto, I can't remember, but where I left off in the book, Dante hasn't even entered hell. He's still at the gates of hell. That's how much I was so interested about it. I remember Brittany Broski's podcast where she was talking about the whole series of ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns and Roses, the whole Fourth Wing thing, like their series, Throne of Glass, Assassin's Blade, all of that. One of my best friends, she is like the most avid reader that I have ever met. There's a book that I'm gonna show you guys, or that if you guys saw already, that it's a 35 book series, and this bitch read it in 2 weeks. That's how insane she is. And I'm like, fuck, dude. And me and her were hanging out a couple months back before I started reading, and I was like, hey, I know you're a reader. I was like, but I've been hearing things about ACOTAR and all of this, and it kind of seems like the things that you read. I was like, I want your honest opinion, because I want something new. I read nothing but trauma-based books and like Dante's Inferno or like just horror books, and I'm like, I'm so over it. I was like, I want something new. Like I'm bored. And I told her, I was like, at this point I am fucking bored. And she went on a tangent, dude, and she recommended me so many books, and she was like, Akatar's so good, and this one, and yada yada yada. And me and her had like a whole conversation about it. She only had, which I'll show you guys, because this is the first book that I started off with. She only had the physical copy of just the first one, which is A Court of Thorns and Roses. This is the whole Akatar series. I believe that there's 5 books in total. I still have yet to buy the entire books, because at Target they sell the entire bundle for like 90 something dollars, but then I found it on Amazon for like 32. So I was like, I'm gonna get that, because I do want to finish this entire series, because I started this and then she was like, read this and read this and read this, and I was like, hold on. I am becoming a bit more of a reader, because I noticed how much I was bored because of how quickly I am running through these, dude. I buy them and 2 days max I'm done. Like in the span of a month and a half that I started reading again, I am already on my 5th book, which I'll talk about a little bit, but I was reading it right now before I came out to do the podcast. But I was like, that's how you know I was so over what I was reading, because of how fast I am reading these. I am like shaft deep in these books, dude. Like, they are so fucking good. Okay, we have to talk about that, which is why I'm making this episode. But this is the first book that I read, A Court of Thorns and Roses. This is more, it's not like the other ones that I'm going to show you guys that are like dark romance. To me, this is just more like regular it's like fantasy romance. So they're fairies, they're fae, and it's more men yearning for their women. The other 2 that I have right here, bitch, that's fucking like that. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. There is such a discourse when it comes to these books specifically, because there's a lot of back and forth of like, it was good, it was bad, you have to get through the first one to read the other ones. Like, the other ones are better. The one that keeps popping up is the one after this, which I think is A Court of Mist and Fury. It's like that greenish bluish kind of book, and I'm low-key spoiling it for myself, because people are talking about shit and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, it seems crazy. So with this entire thing, how should I even talk about this? Like, just give like my review and like what it is, because this is the first time I've done this, so bear with me. And my phone's going dark. Fuck, please do not overheat, because we all saw what happened last time when it overheated. I only had the fucking somehow I only had the audio. So if this all of a sudden turns into an audio, I'm sorry, okay? I'm trying to get a good mic for me to be able to do it in my room, because I'm tired of coming out here, dude. It's so fucking hot, which I know is like how I talked about in the last episode. That's like such like first world problems, like, oh, I have to come outside and do my podcast, you know. There's people that can't even go outside without being bombed and shit. So, but this heat is something else. Anyway, though, this book, it was good. I will say it was really, really good, because it was the first book that I read going back into reading. So I don't really, no, I was about to lie. I was about to be like, I don't have anything bad to say about it, but no, I do. So the whole thing with this book, if you guys haven't read it, and if I spoil stuff for you guys, that's on you, because you haven't read it. So whatever. But with this one, so the entire thing with it is that there's the main character, Feyre. I believe that's what her name is, Feyre. And then the fairy that she is like living with or falls in love with is Tamlin. Feyre has always lived outside of the fairy realms, because it's the human realm, and then there's like the forest, the wall that really no humans can go through, because then like you will be shot and killed because you're a human. And then after that is the entire fairy realm, and each fairy land, I guess you could call it, is divided into sections. So there's like the spring court, the autumn court, the summer court, the winter court, night court, underneath the mountain, which is like so fucking scary. That's where people go and like they just die. Like, shit happens down there. So Tamlin is part of the spring court. What happens is that Feyre is out hunting, because it's the beginning of the book is very almost like very dystopian, very Hunger Games. She is pretty much the Katniss Everdeen of the family. She's over here having to hunt and for her family and forage, you know, berries and food and all of that. She's out hunting one day, and she sees this wolf, but she knows that it's not like your typical looking wolf, because it's way too big. It's bigger than like your normal wolf, and she knew that it was a fairy. The humans and the fairies have always had beef, and there has been, I believe there was a treaty that if a human killed a fairy, then the fairies were able to come into the human realm and kill that person, you know, like punish them for what they did. Because with the treaty, they live in peace because they're separated by that wall. So she ends up killing that wolf that she knows was a fairy, and then before she knows it's Tamlin, he comes in his wolf form, and like it kind of reminded me of like Little Red Riding Hood, because they're in like their cottage, and he like busts through a fucking door, like the wolf that's like huffing and puffing, and he like busts through her fucking house, and he's like, what the fuck did you do? I mean, obviously he didn't say it like that, but he was just upset because the wolf that he killed ended up being one of his closest friends. So a deal that they made to not have the entire family killed, because it's her 2 sisters, and her dad. And her dad got, I can't remember how, but he got injured. Oh, because I think he owed my money to like some mobsters, and they like beat the fuck out of him, and like demolished his foot, like battered that shit. So she was having to be like, how I said, the Candice Everdeen of the family. She was having to keep everybody intact. So the treaty that they, or like the deal that they came out with, was that to protect your entire family, she has to live with me. I think it was for a year or some shit like that. Like he had to hold her hostage for like a year, and then that's when everything would be okay, you know, like he would have her like as his slave, and would, like, you know, as like a servant and all that. She's very resistant at first, but her family was like, well, I mean, there's nothing else that we could do, because your dumbass killed a wolf knowing that it was a fairy. And then we're like, you're gonna have to do what you can to like protect this family. But then she also didn't want to go, because she was the only the only person in her family that had like those type of survival instincts, for her to have to become like the Candice Everdeen of her family. Nobody else had like those survival instincts. There's even like a sentence in the first couple of pages of her describing her sister, like pretty much just in the nicest way, just calling her stupid. So she goes to the fairyland, and she's like, obviously, you know, she's very homesick, she's very sad. She's like, damn, I'm away from my family, I'm worried about my family, yada yada yada. Throughout the entire book, she is so fucking annoying. she is insufferable, because at one point, like, she realizes that like Tamlin was a wolf, and then she sees him in his fairy form, and he's this beautiful, like, these fairies sound sexy, dude. Like, they sound so fucking hot, because like the way that they describe these fairies isn't like your typical like Tinkerbell that's like little and flying around, or like even like the movie Avatar. They have some in here that do look like the characters from Avatar, but like a little bit scarier. The way that they described it, they look kind of scary. But with Tamlin, he was like a human form kind of fae, you know, almost like Thor, like a god-like kind of fairy. And he was like the supreme of his court, so he was like up there, you know. He was very godly, and he did everything that he could for her, you know. Like, he tried to accommodate her as much as he could. He tried to be there for her as much as he could, because it's the thing with this story is that it is that typical story that I have grown to love, which is the enemies to lovers, where they both literally hate each other. Like, it is a visceral hatred that they both have for each other. And then little by little, they start to see where they're like, even though I may be a fairy and you may be a human, there's still some similarities between us, and maybe this could flourish into something. But every fucking time that she starts to feel something for him, she finds a way to sabotage that shit, dude. And then she's over here worried about her family, when her family doesn't give her family has shown her blatantly that the moment that she left, that they're just like, they're not worried about her. Because what they did in order for her family not to really worry was that they put a glamour on her family to make it seem like she was out of the country to visit a long lost aunt, when in reality she was just being held hostage. So she would just cry and cry about her family, even though her family didn't even know what was going on. Like, they were like, girl, we think you're out here, like we don't even remember that you're being held hostage. I mean, Tamlin used to get, I mean, rightfully so, he used to get so fucking angry with her and be like, and straight up tell her too, like, I am doing everything I can for you, and you still find a way to make it seem like I am doing nothing for you. Like, what is it that I can give? And she's like, my family. And I'm just like, no. she was pissing me off, dude. And then it was just like that throughout the entire book, that like they would have like such romantic moments, but then she would find a way to sabotage it. And I'm like, bitch, if you don't quit it, like, Tamlin could literally pick you up and rip your stupid ass in half, and he's being so patient with you. She was pissing me off, dude. And because I'm doing that the book club with my best friend that's letting me borrow the books and everything, I was texting her and I was like, this bitch is getting on my nerves again, dude. I was like, I can't finish this fucking book, because and then like there was moments where he found out that she was a painter, but she hasn't had anything to like paint with. So he found a way to order like some of the best paints, the best brushes, canvases of all the different sizes. And there was a room in his house that was completely empty, and he transformed it into her entire art studio. And even then, bro, she was still complaining. Like, she was in the art room just painting her family, like tears down her face. And I'm like, if you don't get over it, I'm gonna be forced to drum strike you. Like, I'm drum striking the entire spring court. Like, I'm sick of you, dude. Towards the end of the book, it gets to where like it's that typical story of he has to take her back, and that's when she realizes like, yo, I really do love you, but it's way too late. The whole thing with this was that the treaty of them, in order to break, like, because I'm trying to remember, because I read this like a couple months ago already. In that one place called Under the Mountain, there's a woman named Amarantha. She's like the evilest fae out there. And when she finds out about this bitch, she wants her destroyed because she wants Tamlin. So first off, she's not a girl's girl, to put it out there. And the ending of this book is insane. So they steal her, because she pretty much, Amarantha steals Feyre, because pretty much she has to put her through all these like trials and games of like, you're gonna have to fight and show me that you are worthy to be with the Fae. And she gives her like this riddle of like, if you can break this riddle and tell me like what the answer is, everybody will be set free. I couldn't break it. I read it so many times and I was like, what are you talking about? The riddle at the end of it was the word love. Like, this book I didn't annotate. The other ones I do have annotated, because I wish I could show you guys like what the quote was, but this is my best friend's book and I wasn't gonna annotate it because that's fucked up if I do that. But it was like this riddle, and then it ended up being the word love. And at the end, like, she does everything that Amarantha wants. She passes every test, and she has shown that she is like strong-willed, and that she wants Tamlin, and that she wants, you know, this with him. And even in the end, when she wins, Amarantha gets so mad and she fucking beats her ass, dude. I was texting my friend and I was like, this shit is giving me anxiety. I was like, I'm losing my fucking mind. Because the way that she was just explaining that like she was beating her ass, and I was like, how is she still alive? Because she was kicking her like crazy, stomping on her, hitting her like every rib. Feyre was bleeding out of her mouth, and I was like, how is this bitch alive? But then at the end of it, and it's so weird because like during her ass beating, she ends up saying like, oh, like it all kind of comes to her, and she's like, oh, the answer to your riddle is love. And Amarantha's still like, no, like, I'm not gonna accept that. But because what she has said was that if you could answer it, everybody's free, Tamlin just gets all of his power, because she was holding everybody's powers. He gets all of his powers back, turns into like his monstrous form, and rips that bitch to shreds. He kills her. And then Feyre survives, everybody lives happily ever after, and that was the end of it, you know? That's all I know so far with this book, because I still have to read all the other ones. There's a man in here though. Oh my god. Rhysand of the Night Court. He's like the supreme, like the same as like Tamlin, but he's of the Night Court. Oh my god. Need him medically. Need him. He is that typical And the way Feyre explains him too is that he is that typical like fine ass dude that knows he's fine, but he has every right to know he's fine. And he is such an asshole, and towards her too. And I'm like, I need you to knock my teeth out. Like, that's what I need you to do. But so and that's what's killing the storyline for me, is that me having, now that I landed on book talk, it seems like in the second book Feyre and Bryson like fall in love with each other, and she always secretly loved him. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? So I have to get the other books, because I can't kill any more of what I want to read. I can't like keep killing it for myself. Like, I need to fucking read it, you know what I mean? So this was a really good book. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of the people that I've talked to that don't like it is because like they're not queer. It's a straight relationship. I have 2 books that are, well, the rest of the books are queer. This is the only straight one, aside from the other one that I'm reading right now. But I don't know, I feel like people are just so judgmental towards books, or maybe because also too, like, a lot of my friends read these ones that I'm going to talk about too that are very smutty, and this is too romantic for them. I don't mind the balance of the two, because sometimes these smut ass books are fucking insane. And there's only so much that I could take of somebody being like, and then he railed me, and he put his fingers up my ass, and he put it in my mouth and told me to taste myself. And I'm like, what am I reading, dude? So I didn't mind this. I did like it. I'm excited to finish the entire series. So, next book. After that, I had read this book. This one isn't annotated either, because this is borrowed by one of my other friends that I have to give it back to him. This is by the author Rena Kent. Hi, I'm stuttering already. I didn't say the author of the other one. This is Sarah J Maas, or Sarah J Maas, however you say it. This is Rena Kent. This is the other book is by her too, and then the book I'm reading right now is by her as well. She's a really good author. This is the book that I was talking about, that it's a 35 book series, and my friend read this shit in 2 weeks. This is the one that not only did my friend recommend me, but that she recommended me to, God of Fury. This is the only one in the God series that it's which is a gay one. And in the villain series, I believe that there's 2 that are Where do I even begin with this fucking book? This was my first dark romance book. And this shit was insane. I have never had a book make me feel the way that this book made me feel, in every way possible. I'm not even lying to you. And I even texted my best friend this, that I was reading this, and every smut scene, I was bricked up. I was hard. I was horny. Because this shit was so fucking good. So, with this book, the 2 main characters are Brandon and Nikolai. I love this book, but I also have beef with it. And I'll explain why. And it's a little bit of a sad reason, but I'll tell you guys why. My friend recommended me this book, my best friend, because she said it reminded her a lot of the relationship. If you guys remember watching the video of me talking about the Lana Del Rey ultraviolence, why I relate to it so much and why I love it. That relationship that I was in with that guy, she told me that this was the epitome of our relationship. That I was the character Brandon and he was the character Nikolai. When I read this, I saw not only myself in Brandon, but I saw him in Nikolai. And that's the only reason why I hate this book, is because after I read it, because to kind of give a backstory, if you guys don't remember from like that episode, or if you guys haven't seen that episode, this guy was my, I'm never gonna say his name, but this guy was my first love. We were together for almost 5 years, and then he unfortunately let his demons win, and he ended his own life. This year in December will be 8 years that I lost him. So reading this book kind of ignited all of that, and like threw me back to all those memories about him and the way that he was. Because I'm not joking when I say that the character Nikolai was him to a T, bro. To a T. the possessiveness, the jealousy, the territorialness, the charismatic, the charm, the charm that he had, the humor, the goofiness, the childlike attitude that he had, but also he could be really serious. And then the way that his jealousy is that the way that Nikolai is that if anybody even looks at Brendan, he's ready to beat their ass, and that's how he was with me. So I saw a lot of him in that character, and the minute that I finished this book, to be completely transparent, I was depressed for like a couple of maybe 3 days to like a week, because that's how bad it affected me. But I had that conversation with my best friend where it was like, when he died, I was still a part of the religion, and then that's when I still was having like a very rocky relationship with my parents. So I was never able to fully process his death properly, which for my therapist, I feel like that's why I have so much PTSD that I do, because I had to lose the love of my life, suppress all of that, because I could not bring that up to my parents. If I were to go up to my parents and be like, hey, you guys, my boyfriend of 5 years just killed himself, they would mostly focus on the fact that I was with another man. They wouldn't give a shit about that he offed himself. So now that I'm able to process, with the help of therapy and also the clarity of sobriety, I'm able to process his death a lot better now and feel the emotions that I need to. And I feel like this book really helped me do that, but at the same time it was very detrimental to me. But I love this book, and I know that I would reread it. I'm just scared that if I read it, would I start to feel the same way again. But aside from like the depressing stuff, I saw myself so much in Brandon, to the point where I was like, am I this fucking annoying? Where like the thing was that Brendan, there is a part in this book where we find out why Brendan is the way he is, because he is that type of person where like he has this monotonous routine because he has to be in control, because he always has to be in control, because if not, it makes him spiral and it makes him go back to like his old ways of him like self-harming and doing all these other things. And I saw myself in that, because it was almost equivalent to what I went through growing up in my household, where like I needed a monotonous routine in order for me to survive, and I needed to be in control at all times, because if I wasn't, I would lose my mind. And I used to self-harm. I think it's been like 2 years since I've done it, but I just saw myself a lot in him. And then also in the aspect of like, he is very avoidant because of what he went through. He is very avoidant, and Nikolai's just very like in your face. I want to be with you, I want you, you're gonna love me because I know that you do, and you're gonna stop lying to yourself. And Brendan's just very, very avoidant, where he's like, I don't give a fuck about you. But internally he was like, he was even asking himself like, I was never attracted to men, why is it that I need him and want him so badly, you know? I saw myself in that. And then there was even the part that I told my best friend, that there's a part in the book where I can't really remember what he says, but I think he went over like his house, like his mansion, and Nikolai's like, do you want to tour the house? And Brendan's like, no. And Nikolai keeps asking him stuff, but Brendan keeps saying no to every question. And Nikolai's like, do you know any other word other than no? Like, is there any other word in your vocabulary? And Brendan goes, no. And I was like, that is me as fuck, dude. When I am like not interested in a man, or would like, to be so completely honest, when my avoidance side comes out and there's like a man that wants to show genuine interest, I'm like, no. Hey, how about no? You know what I mean? So then like, it kind of had me thinking about like the other episode that I did when that guy called me a prude, and I was like, maybe he ate me up. You know what I mean? I was like, maybe he low-key had a point to call me a prude, you know? I was like, cause fuck, I was like, reading about Brandon, I saw myself so much in him, to the point that it was annoying, but I was like, as he should, you know, stand your ground. But it was so good, dude. It was so fucking good. Oh my god, the smut scenes in here were detailed and insane, completely insane. There's so much smut in here, and there were certain parts where like like they would start being, and I told my best friend this too, where they would start being possessive with each other, because there was a part where Nikolai was having a very bad episode, and he accidentally, because he was trying to punch Brendan's brother, and Brendan got in between, and he ended up hitting him in the face. So like made him spiral even more. So he kind of like disappeared on Brendan for like a good minute, and then he reappeared out of nowhere at Brendan's house. And like again, I wish I annotated it so I could like talk to you guys about it. But Brendan was like, he was just going off on him, and he was like, "You're never gonna do that to me again," and all this other stuff. But then he was like, "You're never gonna fucking leave again. Do I make myself fucking clear?" And I even answered, I was like, "Yes, you're making yourself crystal clear." Like, and I texted my best friend, and I was like, "I'm over here answering him," and she was like, "Oh, it's fine. Like, I'm always answering my book boyfriends." And I was like, "Okay," I was like, validate me because I feel insane right now." And then the end of the book, it is so fucking tragic, because that's when you learn about Brandon's trauma. And there was a video. Okay, so I'll talk about it, but trigger warning for anybody. So Brendan is going to school for art in college. Well, both of his brothers are. Well, both of them are, Brendan and his brother. And there's this like really prestigious art teacher that everybody wants to work with, and she wants to work with him. But he was always so adamant about it, where he's like, "I don't want to be around her." We later find out that he didn't want to be around her because she sexually assaulted him when he was younger. And there's a video that she has of literally it happening, where she's like going down on him, and he's like telling her to stop, and then she gets on top of him, and he's still telling her to stop, and she's over here like, "No, baby, like I promise, like it'll feel good, and I could tell that you enjoyed it and whatnot." And the hand that he's like using to hold her, that's the hand that he self-harm on, because he felt betrayed by his own body. So that art teacher got into Nikolai's face, and she was like, "Oh, like I'll make sure that you leave, and that I ruin you and all of this." She ends up sending him a video of specifically that, of the rape scene, and he's holding the glass in his hand, and because of his anger, he ends up shattering it. The next chapter, because the thing with Rena Kent is that you know whose perspective it is, because on the chapter it'll say like chapter 1, and it'll say like Brandon, chapter 2 Nikolai. You'll see who's talking. So it was Nikolai's part, and then it was Brandon. Brandon walks into the art room, and then he hears the noises of the video, and he knows what he's watching. And his biggest fear of losing Nikolai was learning all of this about him, and realizing why he is the way he is, and finding him disgusting, and then leaving him, which is valid. Once Brandon sees that Nikolai is watching the video, he grabs the broken glass that's in Nikolai's hand and jams it into his fucking neck. And I was like, ain't no way. The ending of the book had me on the edge of my seat. I went to sleep at 6 a.m. because I had to finish it. So he jams it into the side of his neck, and he's bleeding out and dying. And Nikolai's like, "No, baby, no, I can't lose you." And I was like, no. I was like, no. After that, he goes to the hospital. He gets like nerve damage, surgery, all of that shit. It's a book, so he survives. During that time that Brandon is in the hospital, Nikolai and Brandon's brother go, because like the whole thing with this is that they're both like in the mafia. Nikolai's parents are in the mafia, and then so is Brandon too. I think he is too. Like they're both part of like separate mafias. So Nikolai goes with Brandon's brother to that art director's house, and they make her write the entire confession in a letter, essentially pretty much making her make her own like confession / suicide note. But what really happens is that they slice both of her wrists in the bathtub, and then they make it look like she committed suicide. Nikolai comes back. Brendan wakes up in the hospital. Then Nikolai comes back, and they have like this whole romantic scene that made me want to rip the book in half. Because when he walks in, because Brendan and his brother have like their own little moment of like why they kind of separated and why they weren't talking anymore. It was like that typical story of like, "Oh, I was jealous of you." "No, I was jealous of you." And then you kind of realize that it was just miscommunication between the two of you. And then he was asking about Nikolai, and he's like, "Oh, he's just out there, like I'll go and grab him." Nikolai comes in, And then he doesn't say anything, and Brendan's like, can you at least speak to me? Like, can you say something? And Nikolai's like, how could you? And I lose it, dude. I was like, no. I was acting like it was happening to me, dude. I was like, what the fuck are these books doing to me? And they just have this whole romantic scene of like, Nikolai's so mad, but he's so happy that Brendan's still alive, and he's like, how could you? Don't you know that I can't live without you? I can't even breathe properly without you. And I was like, fuck off, dude. I was like, what if I bought a gun and just killed myself? You know what I mean? Like, what if I shot myself in the fucking head? Like, I wanted to rip this book in half. And there was times where like they would get like that romantic scene and I would be holding the book like this, and because it's not my book, I would pretend to like fucking chuck it. Oops. I would pretend to chuck it at the wall, and I would be like, fuck you, fuck off. Because it's like, it's 4 a.m. Everybody's asleep, so I couldn't be yelling. But it was such a good book, and they end up getting married, and they end up with each other happily ever after. It was such a good book, even though with what it did to me afterwards, I still really love it. But that is why with these specific books, they always add like the trigger warnings in the beginning, like what they talk about, and they say like, we hope you understand your trigger warnings before you read this. I did understand mine, I did understand it to a certain degree. I just didn't know it was gonna affect me like this. And it was just, and I was listening to like Ethel Cain afterwards, which I had to make a video about it, because the way that I made the one of Lana Del Rey, I want to make the same thing with Ethel Cain, Preacher's Daughter. Like, I have to make that fucking video, because I did not like the way that I did the Lana Del Rey one, where I had my tablet and I was reading off of it, because it didn't feel genuine. It didn't feel it felt impersonal. And because it was such a long time since I've listened to that album, because I don't really listen to Lana Del Rey anymore. But with Ethel Cain, I still have it in the back of my head, so I'm like, I want to make the video before I completely forget about it, you know. So, but there were some songs that reminded me of him in that one, so it was such a really bad week for me. But this was a really good book. Let's move on to the next one. These next two are going to be annotated because I bought them, because I was like, I can't keep borrowing shit. I was like, I need to annotate. I want to go back and like reread certain like things that I did like, or just quotes that I really liked, or just things that they said that I really liked. So with this book, this is what I read afterwards, after God of Fury, because I kept seeing this all over TikTok. Okay, before I go into it, I'll just show you guys. It's the song of Achilles. I have such a love-hate, but more hate when it comes to this book. This was all over fucking TikTok. All over TikTok. I first learned about it again through this. That's really reflective. Let me put it over here. I first learned about it through Brittany Broski, because there was a random TikTok that popped up on my For You page from her secret account of her literally bawling her eyes out, like snot bawling. And the caption on the video was, just finished, you know, reading this book. And there were so many quotes that people were quoting from the book that sounded very like romantic, and that's what I'm in the mood for. And it just sounded really good. And the way that everybody on TikTok was just like, this book fucking ruined me, this book did this, yada yada, quién sabe qué. So I was like, you know what, let me fucking read it. Let me take a break from like these crazy ass books and let me read this. I bought it. Okay. Before I get lost in my words, I knew from the beginning that this was going to be a retelling of Achilles. Because for those of you guys that don't know, Achilles was one of the best Greek, or was it Roman? I can't even remember anymore. But I believe he's, oh no, Greek. Yeah, he's Greek. I just saw it on the back. Yeah, Achilles, the best of all. Can I read? Achilles, the best of all the Greeks. He was the best Greek god out there, and warrior. Well, specifically warrior, because they have to, that's what I didn't know, was that they have to pretty much fight for them to become gods. Like, you have to really prove yourself. Like, you aren't born into being a god, which I didn't know. So he was known for like his rage, for him being like the best warrior, the best soldier, the way that he fought in the Trojan War and all of that. And one of the things about this, this is by Madeline Miller. She does this a lot, from what I've realized from her books, is that she does like read. Can I speak? She does, the Red Bull's hitting. She does a lot of retellings. And what this was that it was like the retelling of Achilles of, what if he was known for his love and not his rage? Because the whole story with it was him and his best friend Patroclus. It's his best friend Patroclus, who ended up being exiled because he ended up killing somebody at a very young age. And even his dad hated him from the beginning, because he knew that he was going to be a weakling and that he wasn't going to be fit to be a good warrior. Because back then that's how it was, where like if you were born and they could see that you already weren't going to make it out, like make it to be fit, they would exile you, or they would just kill the kid already. Or if they came out with like some form of like deformity or like some type of illness or whatever it may be, they would kill the kid. Like, they wanted perfection. So this is a retelling of that story of Achilles and Patroclus, of the way that they have always described them within mythology, is that there were cousins, there were roommates, there were cousins, there were best friends, there were soldiers, there were all of that. They were best friends. They started off as best friends, and it was like that. It wasn't like an enemies to lovers kind of shit. The minute that Patroclus saw Achilles, he immediately fell in love with him. And Achilles didn't really know that until like later on, when Achilles was sent to, I don't think I have that annotated, but he got sent to a specific place to go be trained by a centaur. Because I guess they sent him to like this one island, I guess, to where that centaur like trains all the warriors and all of that. And that's where like they start to like kind of develop those feelings, and then like they end up, having sex, and then that's when they're like, oh, this is what this is like, like this is like love. The thing with this book, because I'm still getting lost in my words because there's so much shit that I want to say. So let me finish the first statement that I was saying. I knew that this was a retelling. I knew that. But the way that people made it seem like on TikTok was that it was going to be an entirely romantic story, and I was down for it. And the fact that it was queer too, I was like, oh, I'm even more down. I felt like I was in school again. This felt more studious, if anything. It felt like I was relearning about the Trojan War, and I was like, I don't give a fuck about this. I was like, hey, guess what? I don't give a shit. I want the romance. I want them yearning for each other. And it had its moments where they would, but then it would go back to like the war, and it was so frustrating to read. It took me 3 days to finish this because of how much I kept putting it down. Because once it would have like its romantic moments, it would go back to being like studious, and I'm like, you're losing me, dude. Like, you are losing me. And towards the end of the book, I just found myself like fast-paced writing. Like, I don't even remember what the end of the book really was, because it was the last chapters were them just fighting in the Trojan War, and I was like, I don't care, dude. I'm like, where's the romance? Even though I did annotate it, but this is like all the romantic shit, and like there's like one, I think I only found, because there's like 2 like smut scenes, but the thing with this book is that it's not like these other ones. This was more like even with Akatar, even that smut scene, it wasn't crazy. It was more like, I was yearning for you, and it's done in a very romantic way. And I think that was the problem too, was that I go from reading a book like God of Fury, where it's like that enemies to lovers, the toxicity, the possessiveness, the super smutty, to something that's like the complete opposite of it. So maybe I read it at the wrong time, but then at the same time, it's like, I didn't care about the Trojan War. I wanted the romance in it. And there was such romantic parts, even like the way that in this one where he said like when Achilles called him, he said his name like fully, like Patroclus, because he said that everybody would always just say it in a way of like, they just wanted to blurt it out, and they wouldn't even pronounce his name right, as if they were just trying to like, yeah, just blurt it out. And he was like, sang each syllable, and I was like, oh god. They had like their like the typical quotes that I was seeing that were very romantic, like in this scene that I have annotated, was when they were talking about the real punishment that happened with Hercules, because since he didn't, from what I'm assuming is, I think, because like I said, I didn't care. I think they punished him because he didn't want to go to Olympus. So what the gods did to punish him was that they sent him into madness, and he ended up killing both his kids and his wife. And that's when the centaur Chiron, that's what his name is, Chiron, was telling Achilles and Patroclus about the story. And Achilles was like, well, how could he not recognize his wife? Like, that's his wife. And Chiron was like, well, that was the whole thing about the madness that they had put on him, was that he saw his family through the eyes of enemies. So he didn't recognize who they were. He just saw them as a target, and then that's when he completely killed them. And then that's when Patroclus says this, and this is like a typical quote from it, where it said, Achilles' eyes were bright in the firelight, his face drawn sharply but by the flickering shadows. I would know it in dark or disguise, I told myself. I would know it even in madness. And I was like, damn, I was like, he's in love. He says, send me into madness, baby, I'll recognize it. The other one that's right here was when Achilles was supposed to go, it was that time for him to go to Troy to fight in the Trojan War. And his mom didn't want that, so she sent him like somewhere else and like disguised him as a girl to be like one of like the dancers, because that's what was gonna like save him. But Patroclus recognized him. And then this is another quote that's very like the one that goes around TikTok where he says, and I'm gonna say her name, but I'm gonna fuck it up, I know I am. What had Diameda thought would happen, I wondered, when she had her women dance for me? Had she really thought I would not know him? I could recognize him by touch alone, by smell. I would know him blind, by the way his breath came and his feet struck the earth. I would know him in death, at the end of the world. I was like, oh my god. And it was those moments that made the book good, because it kind of shows you how, like, when you are truly in love with somebody, stuff like that, like the way that you walk, the way that you talk, the way that you breathe, your smell alone, I would recognize you, you know? Even in the first quote, like, I would recognize your eyes in the dark, in disguise. I would recognize him in madness, you know? I would recognize you in a room full of people. Where nowadays, something like that could be considered like something so insignificant. But when you are truly in love, just like these little minor details of somebody, you really start to know them, and you really start to recognize them, and you're like, that's mine, like that's who I am with. And it's so beautiful the way that him and Achilles just come together, and they realize, like, yes, you are my best friend, but I want more than that. Oh yeah, is this scene where they're over there with Chiron, and Achilles is asking him, like, name one hero that was happy, and Patroclus starts naming some, and he's like, well, I mean, none of them are. Like, Patroclus is like, they don't let you be famous and happy, you know? And Achilles was like, well, I'll tell you a secret. And he's like, well, he was like, I'm gonna be the first because of you, swear it. And he was like, why do you want me to swear? And he was like, because you are the reason that I'm gonna be a hero, famous and happy. And I was like, fuck off. I was like, if you don't fuck off. He knew that Achilles was gonna die, and he was just saying, like, the minute that he dies is the minute that I'm gonna leave this earth too, because I cannot be on this earth without him. And I was just like, oh my god, dude. And the ending is so fucking sad, dude, where it is so fucking sad, where Patroclus, because I'm trying to remember too, because like I said, I read the fuck, I need to read more, because like I cannot form a coherent sentence right now, but I read it quickly to where I don't really remember, but I know that something had happened to where Patroclus was like, put your gear on me. He was telling Achilles, put your gear on me and I'll pretend to be you, and everybody will be too afraid to fight me, because they were afraid of him. But then they knew it wasn't Achilles, and Patroclus ends up dying, and Achilles is just like so hurt by it, dude, and he's just so incredibly hurt by it. And then Achilles later on, I believe he ends up dying, and then his mom is visiting his grave, and she's speaking to the ghost of Patroclus, she's like, they're talking about things, and he's like, I am made up of memories, like I am made up of the memories of that I had with your son. And he starts saying all these things of like, his hair looked in summer sun, his face when he ran, his eyes solemn as an owl at lessons, this and this and this, so many moments of happiness crowding forward, where he's like, I am made up of just nothing but memories of him, like you, because his mom was always against Patroclus, and she would always say like, you are not worthy of my son. And towards the end, I feel like she kind of like came around, and she was like, you were worthy. And he's like, I loved your son more than I loved myself, and I went to the ends of the earth to do what I could for him. And you know, like that part where he's like, I am made up of memories of him, like I am on a cellular level, I am made up of him. And in the end, it's so fucking sad when like she ends up telling Patroclus like, go, like he waits for you in darkness. And I'm like, no. No. And then in the end, like when they finally like meet, like in the afterlife, it says, in the darkness, two shadows reaching through the hopeless heavy dusk, their hands meet, and light spills in the flood like 100 golden urns pouring out the sun. And I was like, dude. I was like, why couldn't the whole book be like this, where it was just so incredibly romantic? But then you had to throw the Trojan War into it, which I get it, because it's Achilles. But it wasn't my favorite book. But reading those back, because I finished this book like 2 weeks ago, I think. Reading this back, it makes me feel like, oh my god. But then just remembering like half of this shit is about the Trojan War, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I don't care. So I'm sorry, but you guys overhyped this book. And I know that she has another one by, who is it, like Circe, and then she's making one for like Persephone. If this is how it is, I'm not reading the other ones. This made me lose so much interest. I'm just happy that I was able to read it and get it out of the way, but it was not my favorite. Last book, this one I just finished, I believe last week. This is another Rena Kent book. This is one that both of my friends were recommending me to, where they were like, you have to, after you finish reading God of Fury, you have to read this one, because they kind of have the same storyline. Because one of the characters in God of Fury is related to one of the characters in this one. So this one is Kiss the Villain. Oh my god. This book was, I keep on repeating myself, but I don't know what to say, because these books are fucking crazy. So in this book, it's the character Gareth and Caden. Gareth is cousins of Nikolai, and Nikolai is in this book. There's certain parts with Nikolai, and then both with Nikolai and Brendan. And then there's a couple scenes that happen in God of Fury that happen in here, which was cool to kind of go back and get more like context of like what had happened in those certain scenes. So with this, it's almost like the same thing, where they're both in the mafia. The main story behind this was that Caden is a professor, but he's portraying a professor, because he was supposed to get to like know Gareth and then kill him, because Caden, his wife, trigger warning for anybody, was gang raped until she died, and he knows that Gareth's uncle was there when it happened, or he assumed. We find out in the book that he wasn't even there, like he wasn't even a part of it. So the whole thing was that he was supposed to like get to know Gareth and then kill him as vengeance, because he knew that he couldn't, who was it, even though I just finished reading it, but he knew that he couldn't really kill the uncle. So the best option for him was to fuck around with the things that he loved the most, and that was his grandson, which was Gareth. But it just all ends up turning into something else, and he ends up falling in love with him. This book is so fucking good. It is so good. This one did take me 3 days to finish, because it's not a lot of chapters. Like they've all been like up to like 35 or 39. I believe this one's 39, but there's a lot happening in this, and the chapters are thick. So it did take me a minute, but it was so good, dude. And it's like that typical like enemies to lovers, the push and the pull, the toxicity, the possessiveness. Like, it is insane, dude. And I have a complaint though. Okay, I have to talk about it. I have a complaint. In this book, the thing with Caden's character is that he is one of those who's like, I am the top and I'm gonna dominate you, I'm gonna overpower you, I'm gonna make you my toy. But he's also very like romantic and possessive with Gareth. From the minute that he was having sex with Gareth, he starts he's coming up with nicknames for his hole, and he's calling it pussy and cunt. And I'm like, you lost me. You have completely lost me. Cause when they're fucking for like the first time, they're like against a tree, and he's like, and even Gareth is like, don't call it that. And he's like, oh, so what do you want me to call it? My what does he say? Like my boy pussy, my fuck hole. And I was like, I'm about to rip this book in half. Like, stop with the bullshit, dude. Like, it was pissing me off. And I was like, there's no way that, because he says it in a way of him saying like pretty much like the whole possessiveness of like, I own you. And in all, I'm not even lying to you, in all the fucking smut scenes, he says it. Right when it starts getting good, he literally says, oh, my cunt is so wet. What are you talking about? Dude, it was, these smut scenes would get so good, and then he would use that word, and I'm like, you lost me. I'm soft. Actually, I have ED now. I was like, I am over this, dude. There was one scene though that, oh my god. I had to text my best friend and I was like, bitch, I can't. Oh, it was right here. That took me such a good minute to find. Like, my shit is annotated up the ass. Even as much as I didn't like Song of Achilles, that shit's annotated up the ass. So it's like, took me a minute. But it's this scene where like Gareth is being a fucking brat, and he like kicks him out of class. Well, he didn't want to, but he was having to be a teacher. And he was like, Gareth, sit the fuck down. And he was like, and he just walked out, and he was like, see me after class. And he bends him over the table. And what made me freak out was that it happened so fucking fast. It escalated so quickly, and I was like, pause. How are we here already? Like, why are we here? But it's this scene where he's like, you need to watch that mouse, and it says twack. Because he's bending him over the table and he's hitting him with the belt on his ass. And he's like, you can't run it however you please. And he hits him. Next time I tell you to sit down, twack. And with each word he starts doing, he's like, you sit the fuck down. I was losing it because I could imagine it, and I started breathing heavy. I was like, oh my god. Because just imagine that, like, someone's doing it to you and they're like, you sit the fuck down. Oh, I'm horny. I am losing all sense of self. Like, you have no idea. No, just no. But that scene had me losing my mind. And then they have like their romantic scenes too, where towards the end of the book, and I passed it when I was looking for it, was that he ended up getting a tattoo. Like, he already had a tattoo right here, Caden, of a snake, and then he ended up getting like a compass that was something similar to what Gareth had. And he was like, why did you get a compass? And he was like, because you helped find me. Fuck off. Fuck all the way off, dude. Take me behind the barn and blow my brains out. Because no. Just no. But this book is so fucking good, dude. And the end is one thing about Rena Kent is that her books at the beginning are always a bit of a slow burn. Like with God of Fury, I almost couldn't finish it, because when you first meet Nikolai, and this on chapter 4, I will always remember, when you first meet Nikolai, you see his arrogance and he just keeps on talking about his dick. Like, it's a whole chapter just about his dick. And I texted my best friend and I was like, I can't do this because I'm getting annoyed. And she was like, no dude, like we all do, just power through that and it'll get good. Yeah, it does. I powered through it and I finished that shit like that. With this, where was I going with that? I lost my train of fucking thought. I lost my whole train of thought. But I don't know what I was trying. What I was trying. I don't know what I was trying to say. Why did I bring that up? I don't know. The world may never know, and I don't feel like going back. But this book is good. The smut scenes are really good. The smut scene, as you can see, I don't know if you guys could tell, it's literally on chapter 2, because he goes into the room, because he's trying to mess with like this one guy, and then he realizes it's this guy is Caden, and he puts him on his knees and face fucks the hell out of him. And I texted my best friend and I was like, what I just remembered now. I know what I was gonna say. Yeah, I'm all over the place, I'm sorry. I just remember what I was gonna say. The thing with Rena Kent's books, that's why I brought that up, was that they are such a slow burn. Like the beginning chapters are a slow burn, but once you hit like chapter 15 and on, it is non-fucking stop. And towards the end of the book, it is always fucking traumatic. Like somebody's raped, somebody got sexually assaulted, somebody's fucking shot, somebody's about to die. Rena Kent loves a hospital scene. Because in both of these, there was a hospital scene. And I was like, bitch, you love sending these people to the ER. The bill you are giving these people. But the end is so sad because like they kidnap Gareth and they like drug him up, and Caden finds him like just out of it, and they put the loop of, because he ends up finding out in the end that he was married and like everything that happened, and it made him spiral. And when Caden goes to his rescue, he finds Brendan in like almost like those asylum looking rooms with the loop of the wedding video that made him spiral just on the loop. And he sees Caden just like, and it describes it, him just, they drugged him with something which made him go even crazier. So then because of that and him spiraling, he is bashing his head up against the wall to the point where like he opened up a wound. And then he takes him to the hospital, and he kind of becomes more coherent, and he starts to lose his mind even more, and he's like, fuck you, how could you lie to me, you don't even fucking love me, and all this other stuff. And then it's like the typical thing that in the end they end up with each other, and like they're like madly in love with each other. I love these books so much. These books are so good, dude. I have absolutely no words. That's really all I can say. I've never had a book make me crash out the way that these books make me crash out. Because they are, Rena Kent is such a good author, and she is always with like the bullshit. You know, like she takes me on a roller coaster of emotions. It is just not like, once you are strapped in that bitch, she sends you like tumbling, like to the point where sometimes I feel like I don't even have a seatbelt on and I'm just flying all over the roller coaster. But she is such a good author, and it awoken this thing in me where it's like, I missed reading, and I love reading now, dude. Like, give me a book like this, like any of these, I'll finish them. Well, not Song of Achilles, but give me all these other ones, I'll finish them like 2 days max, maybe 3. This one was 3 because it's thick. But this just awoken something in me. I could tell I was so incredibly bored with my books, because the fact, like how I said, it's only been a month and a half and I already finished 5. I'm on my 5th one right now. I'm on my 5th one, right? No, I'm on my 6th one. Because I keep forgetting that I read Dante's Inferno because of how much I just wasn't into it, but I did read it. But yeah, I'm actually on my 6th one. So that's how you know, like, I needed something new. It also made me realize like how much I need fucking therapy, because specifically in these two, the men in these books need them religiously. I need, as Brittany Broski said, I need them in a way that is concerning to feminism. The way I would lose all sense of self to be with a man like this, like, oh my god. But that's why I'm in therapy, because these are the type of men that I love. Like the possessive, the very like with unresolved trauma, just super unhealed, and I'm like, oh, you sound so sexy. Like the bullshit that I put myself through. But I really recommend these books, except for this one, if you want to. I feel like just to have it in your arsenal and be like, yeah, I read it, just in case it comes in the conversation, I would say maybe just read this one, because it is pretty romantic. It just felt very short for me, and like I said, it just felt very studious for me, and I was bored to tears. But all these other ones, I really recommend them. And the one I'm reading right now is by Rena Kent as well. It's a new series. It's a book called Beautiful Venom. There's 3 books. The 3rd one's coming out next year, and I was like, I'm reading the book series that's not even finished. Like, what the fuck? But that one so far is good. That one so far is good, and it's a straight one. And these people are freaks, dude. Rena Kent is a sex freak, and she needs to be shot. Like, not only for that, but for what she puts me through with these fucking books. But yeah, you guys, I have no other words before I continue to sound like a broken record. But I just want to give the quickest shout out to my best friend Emily. Hi. To her and to my other friend Carlos, that you guys have recommended me some of the best books ever. This just, I needed this. And like with the whole me having to relearn life and navigate life sober, this has become like my new addiction, where it's like, I'm all for it, dude. Because it's such an escape to a different universe and to escape reality, and just to kind of have that, you know. With all that being said, yeah, that's gonna do it for me today. I just wanted to ramble about these books because I am having the absolute time of my life. I'm having so much fun reading these books, and just escaping reality, and just, you know, just reading is so fun, and it's helping me stay sober, because I'm staying indoors, you know. Because since I am on call, I do take advantage to read as much as I can. And I'll read, like, which one was it? Oh, it was this one. It was Kiss the Villain, which like I said, I just finished. I started reading this like it was from chapter, I believe I was chapter 18 all the way to 39. I started at 11:30. I didn't finish until 6:30 because of how thick like the fucking chapters are. But I don't care. I was like, I'm home, I'm safe, I'm sober. That's all that matters. But anyway, you guys, that's gonna do it for me today before I burn up in this fucking car. Thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this and to keep up with my inconsistent ass. Don't forget to read any of these books if you guys haven't yet already. I do recommend them. They're so good. Anything from like Sarah J Maas, or I could more specifically say from Rena Kent. They're so good. I recommend them. But yeah, I will catch you guys on the next video. Deuces.